A few months ago, former Google CEO Eric Schmidt walked onto a prestigious university stage to deliver a commencement address. He looked out at a sea of brilliant, ambitious graduates, cleared his throat, and began speaking glowingly about the glorious automated future that AI was building for them.
And this time, it was the architects of artificial intelligence. Interesting.
He expected applause. Instead, he was met with a chorus of loud, visceral, unscripted boos. Silicon Valley is currently suffering from a severe, multi-billion-dollar delusion. If you watch CNBC, read tech newsletters, or listen to corporate earnings calls, you are told that humanity is on the precipice of a utopian technological awakening.
Big tech now pouring more capital than ever into AI. Alphabet, Microsoft, Meta, Amazon expected to spend a combined $600 billion in CapEx. That's this year alone.
But if you look at actual human behavior, the data tells a completely terrifying story. People do not love this technology. They are learning to deeply, fundamentally hate it. According to recent NBC News polling, AI now carries a lower public favorability rating than ICE, sitting just a fraction above the historical failure of the Iraq War. A separate Quinnipiac study revealed that over half of the American population explicitly believes this technology will cause far more human harm than systemic good. But the most alarming fracture is happening within the one demographic tech companies thought they owned, Gen Z. They are the primary active users of these tools. Yet Gallup found that their hopefulness regarding AI has plummeted to just 18%, while active feelings of anger have surged past 31% in a single year. Why is the most tech-literate generation in human history leading an active psychological and cultural revolt against the most advanced technology ever created? The tech elite wants you to believe this is a marketing problem. They think if they spend enough millions sponsoring mainstream podcasts or giving their CEOs slick new haircuts, you'll forget the existential dread. They are wrong. This is not a marketing problem. It is an experiential crisis. And today, we're going to expose the hidden corporate architecture driving this resentment and why your instinct to resist it isn't an irrational fear of the future, it is a necessary defense mechanism to save your sanity. To understand why the public is revolting, we have to first diagnose the psychological blind spot of the people building these systems. It's a cognitive condition I call the software brain. The software brain is a highly specific, dangerously narrow way of observing reality. It is a mindset that attempts to reduce the messy, beautiful canvas of human existence into a series of structured databases, automatable loops, and deterministic code. It is the literal embodiment of venture capitalist Mark Andreessen's famous 2011 declaration that software is eating the world. For decades, this framework was spectacularly profitable. If you viewed the world as a series of fragmented databases, you can build massive monopolies. Zillow turned housing into a searchable database. Uber turned transportation into a logistical database. YouTube turned entertainment into an algorithmic database. The intoxicating illusion of the software brain is the belief that if you can control the database, you can control the world. But this is exactly where the machine breaks down. The government, the economy, and human relationships are not neat lines of deterministic software. When tech ideologies tried to migrate this mindset into the real world, it failed spectacularly. We watched tech billionaires enter public governance, attempting to manage public institutions like a software update, only to realize that human beings do not live in a clean, automatable loop. When a database stops matching human reality, a sane person updates the database. But the AI industry has become so detached that they are now demanding that you alter your life to fit their database. This ideological distortion is currently manifesting as an absolute nightmare in the modern white-collar workspace. Millions of professionals are walking into their offices every morning only to find themselves forced into a corporate meat grinder of mandated AI adoption. This isn't an organic transition. It is structural coercion. Corporate executives, paralyzed by an intense fear of missing out and desperate to signal technological relevance to their boards, are aggressively forcing these tools down the throats of their workforce. Enterprise data shows that an astonishing 60% of large corporations actively plan to terminate or downscale employees who fail or refuse to integrate AI into their daily tasks. Experienced professionals with decades of hard-earned expertise, nuanced judgment, and specialized skills are suddenly being told by middle management to abandon their intuition and outsource their intellect to a probabilistic text generator. Their lifelong mastery is being systematically devalued, transformed into a mere prompts management role. And for what? This is the supreme irony of the current corporate landscape. The actual economic return on this forced adoption is devastatingly low. While billions of dollars are being diverted from human payrolls into massive tech licensing agreements, leadership metrics reveal that a mere 29% of enterprise companies have realized any significant ROI from generative AI. Only 23% see value in autonomous AI agents. Nearly half, 48%, explicitly admit that the entire implementation process has been a disappointing failure. So why does the pressure keep escalating? Because corporate leadership cannot admit they spent their capital chasing a mirage. To justify the astronomical expenditure to Wall Street, they must manufacture a metric of 100% internal adoption, even if it means burning out their most valuable human assets to do it. The human cost of this corporate delusion is an escalating medical and psychological phenomenon that researchers at Harvard have officially labeled brain fright. Brain fry is the acute cognitive toll of trying to coexist automated systems that operate outside human biorhythms. Employees are reporting unprecedented levels of mental fog, severe headaches, disrupted concentration, and an underlying sense of permanent exhaustion. Why? Because instead of freeing human beings from labor, AI has merely forced them to become high-speed, hyper-vigilant editors of endless automated output. When you are managing multiple AI agents simultaneously, your brain is trapped in a continuous state of high-intensity context switching. You are no longer creating, you are endlessly auditing a machine that is hallucinating details with total confidence. But the long-term danger of brain fry is far worse than temporary mental fatigue. Peer-reviewed research confirms that while short bursts of AI assistance can artificially spike immediate corporate output, it dramatically reduces human persistence and deep learning over time. By outsourcing the friction of thinking to an algorithm, we are actively eroding our own neurological capability to solve complex problems. We are systematically turning a generation of highly educated professionals into cognitive dependents, workers who can no longer navigate ambiguity because they've been trained to let a software model synthesize their reality for them.
It's hard to imagine that there won't be some significant job impact there, and my worry is that it'll be broad and it'll be faster than what we've seen with previous technology.
Hear that clearly. That isn't a critic speaking. That is the CEO of Anthropic, one of the most heavily capitalized AI companies on earth, openly admitting the objective strategy, the complete and utter erasure of entry-level white-collar work. This explains the profound fury of the college graduates who booed Eric Schmidt. For generations, the societal contract was clear. You work hard, you incur massive educational debt, you secure an entry-level position at a firm in finance, law, tech, or consulting, and you spend your 20s learning the ropes through repetitive and foundational work. That basic labor was a tuition for acquiring institutional wisdom. But the software brain sees that foundational human training period as an unnecessary line item on a balance sheet. Over the past 3 years, the tech industry has executed non-stop rolling layoffs. Look at Meta, which recently terminated another 8,000 workers, 10% of its entire global workforce in a single sweep. And how are they executing these cuts? Through a process that borders on psychological warfare. Companies are now quietly monitoring internal employee keystrokes, communications, and daily workflow data for the explicit purpose of training the very corporate AI models designed to replace them. It is a level of predatory surveillance that forces human professionals to build their own digital replacements. The entry-level white-collar pipeline is drying up. The ladder of upward economic mobility is being systematically dismantled, leaving young graduates with an unpayable debt load and zero entry points into the professional class. If the economic threat makes people anxious, it is the cultural degradation that makes them angry. We are currently witnessing the wholesale pollution of our shared digital environment by what the internet has accurately termed AI slop. Go open Pinterest today. What used to be a vibrant, inspirational ecosystem of authentic human craftsmanship, architecture, and interior design has been completely overrun by endless waves of algorithmically generated garbage, unreal objects, physically impossible spaces, and soulless images that look beautiful for a fraction of a second until you realize they possess absolutely no human intentionality. The public is experiencing a massive wave of aesthetic fatigue. Consumers are repulsed by the uncanny valley of automated human expression. Even the highest echelons of global luxury are discovering the hard limits of this automated push. When the iconic fashion house Prada launched a multi-million-dollar promotional campaign entirely generated by AI, the consumer backlash was so severe, immediate, and vitriolic that the brand was forced to completely yank the entire campaign from the public sphere to preserve its historical prestige. Why? Because true luxury, like true art, relies entirely on the scarcity of human effort. When you remove human sacrifice, human time, and human vulnerability from creative work, you do not democratize it. You turn it into worthless digital garbage. The AI industry is trying to convince us that a text prompt is identical to a lifetime of creative discipline, but the human soul intuitively rejects the copy of a copy. We do not yearn for infinite automated content. We starve for authentic human connection. The absolute height of the software brain hubris is its ongoing attempt to automate the human legal system. Tech founders look at the law and assume it's just another clunky legacy database waiting for an API script. They argue that because both software engineering and the law rely on structured language, citations, and precedents, a machine can easily replace a lawyer. A few months ago, a prominent former Chief Justice went on the Decoder podcast to pitch a fully automated AI arbitration system. Her justification was chilling. She claimed that everyday citizens find the human legal system so inherently unfair that they would gladly accept an objectively worse automated decision from an AI simply because the machine would sit there and pretend to listen to them all day long. Think about the absolute depth of that cynicism.
Adalat AI is trying to change that by using artificial intelligence to assist judges and court staff not in making decisions but in cutting down time for transcriptions and paperwork.
The tech elite genuinely believe that human beings will exchange actual substantive justice for the mere hallucination of being heard by a text script. This is where the software brain completely collapses. The law is not code. Society is not a computer. Code is strictly deterministic. It requires an absolute binary input to produce a flawless, predictable output. But the entire foundation of human justice requires deliberate ambiguity. Ambiguity is not a bug in our legal system. It is its defining feature. It is the gray area that allows for human mercy, cultural evolution, and contextual interpretation. You cannot compress the moral weight of human guilt, innocence, or ethical intent into an optimized database loop. When you attempt to do so, you don't create a more efficient society, you build an automated tyranny that flattens human nuance into an objective error. When you understand this total landscape, the erasure of professional careers, the cognitive degradation of daily work, the pollution of creative culture, and the systematic flattening of human justice, the ultimate conclusion becomes completely unavoidable. The public is feeling an overwhelming, claustrophobic sense of helplessness. They see a small group of unaccountable tech executives using their massive capital reserves to alter the fundamental fabric of daily life without ever asking for societal permission. And history teaches us an immutable lesson. When human beings are stripped of their agency through institutional systems, and when the political process makes them feel entirely powerless, public anxiety invariably curdles into deep, explosive nihilism. We are already tracking the early stages of a very real physical blowback. Across the country, local communities are organized to aggressively block the construction of massive corporate data centers that threaten to cannibalize local water grids and strain municipal energy supplies. Politicians who quietly supported these tech infrastructures are suddenly finding themselves aggressively voted out of office by angry, mobilized constituencies. And in the most alarming manifestation of this existential frustration, the resistance has crossed from digital debate into physical hostility. Security infrastructure reports reveal that politicians backing these corporate bills have seen their private residences targeted. Even tech leaders themselves are no longer insulated from the blowback. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman has reportedly had his private residence targeted with explosive Molotov cocktails. Let me be unequivocally clear. Political violence is completely unacceptable. It is a tragic symptom of a broken social dialogue. But we must accurately diagnose why this escalation is happening. This isn't an uneducated public fearing a new tool. This is a profound, visceral response to a tech elite that tells humanity every single day that they are obsolete, that their jobs are disappearing, and that they must forcefully conform their lives to a database or be left behind in the dirt. You cannot spend years telling a population they have no future and then act surprised when they decide to fight back. As a technology consumer, you are being offered a deeply fraudulent deal. The tech monopolies are asking you to hand over your privacy, your creative legacy, your cognitive autonomy, and your professional career. In exchange, they are offering to give you an automated summary of a web page and an endless stream of digital slop. That is a catastrophic trade, and you do not have to accept it. The tech elite wants you to believe that the march towards a fully automated world is inevitable. They want you to feel small, obsolete, and legible, but their entire empire is built on a massive lie. The assumption that everything that matters about being a human being can be captured into a corporate database. It cannot. Your ability to think through deep friction, your capacity to embrace moral ambiguity, your messy, unautomatable emotional depth, and your raw creative discipline are things that no probabilistic software model can ever truly replicate. The path forward to reclaiming your power isn't through violence. It is through absolute intentional non-compliance. Reject the slop. Protect your cognitive energy from the multi-agent brain fry. Value human effort or automated speed. Speak loudly with your attention, your wallet, and your democratic vote. Let the tech companies run their algorithms in an empty room. Remind them that computers are supposed to adapt to human beings, not the other way around. I'm Pathology, and this is just how I see it. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comments. I'll see you next time.